Hello everybody, BigPlanes here. Now before I get into the update video for my British Airways 777, I would like to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to everybody over on Patreon who helps to support the channel. You guys are one of the main reasons why I'm actually able to build these planes. So if you want to go over to Patreon and be able to see some extra content while supporting the channel, I will leave a link to that in the description below. So another update to the 777, and I am moving quickly on this because I want to get this done before the end of the year, as well as I want to bring you guys updates more regularly, since that was one of the main reasons, or that was one of the main issues that I had with the A380 project, was that I was not able to regularly bring you guys updates. However, I'm trying to change that with this, so let's get right into it. Yeah, 777. So I've made some pretty worthwhile progress that I think is worth pointing out on the wing. So the plan of action right now is that I'm going to build the wing, I'm going to build the engines, that will be the next update, and then I will build the outer wings after that, then we'll work our way forward. But let's look at what I've done here. So I'm going to get right into it, so I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I have finally started installing spoilers and elevons. So yay, I finally bothered to install elevons. I know you guys have been asking for this for a very long time. I'm going to come around the corner here so you guys can see it. Yeah, I finally installed elevons, which is these things right here. And of course, spoilers are in here as well. And let me show you how these work. So one of the main reasons I've never really installed elevons is because this has always been somewhat of a structural part of the aircraft, because it's between one flap and the other, which are not installed at this point. But I finally took the time to actually install these, and of course they can sit in the regular fully retracted position, or they can go down or up. So I made a good effort to have plenty of articulation here. This was something that I wanted to include. In fact, for this model, I wanted to include all of the trailing edge control surfaces. I will not be including slats on this, unfortunately, just because that gets in the way of the technique I'm going to be using for this, as well as the engine. It's just not practical for this, a model of this scale, unfortunately. However, I want to include spoilers, flaps, of course, the flaps will be there, the elevons, and I want to see if I can get the ailerons into this model this time around. So I want to get everything on the trailing edge here to the best of my ability. Now, this will not be motorized like A380, mostly because there's just not enough room. Because the wing on the 777, as you can probably tell, is much thinner than the wing on A380. So it does not leave much room for mechanized features. And the second reason why I am foregoing the motorized flaps this time around is just because it's never really got that much use in the A380. Other than bring on the main video. So I'm not going to, and plus it took a lot of time to develop. So I'm going to bypass that and just start working on the wing as a whole. The spoilers, let me see if I can demonstrate these two. The spoilers work very much like those on my other aircraft. You can see here that they fold in like this. And they're pretty much flush right to the wing. And you can see the hinges, but unfortunately that's just sort of par for the course. Spoilers have always been challenging because in order to get them to work, you have to basically move it forward a little bit so that it can come up. Because if you just put a standard hinge there, you'll either have a massive hinge showing on the top here, or you're going to have, it's just not going to work. And you also have to leave, or I also have to leave enough room for the flap mechanism under this, because these are indeed Fowler flaps. Now, thankfully, from all the research I could tell, they are dual-slotted Fowler flaps, so they don't look too complicated. They're not nearly as complicated as the flaps on 747, but they are still Fowler flaps, so they will require some extra room to accommodate for the sliding mechanisms going on under there. In fact, the way I figured out the elevons here, speaking of sliding mechanisms, is that these actually slide out half a stud. So you can see that I have a jumper in there. You can't really see the jumper, but I have a jumper in there that helps keep these things from extending too far, and they extend out about half a stud, which is just enough room for this. It keeps going blurry. just enough room for them to articulate up and down. So I'm pretty happy with how these turned out. I'm trying to include everything I can on these larger models, such as the 777, and unfortunately, it's still very difficult to incorporate these features onto smaller aircraft just because of the pure limitation of space. However, I'm trying my best here to get this all to work out. So that's what's going on with the trailing edge. However, it does not end there because, well, actually, hold on. Before I move on to the underside, I just want to quickly demonstrate to you the technique I'm using up here for the upper surface. I have to adjust the lighting here because it doesn't look good. All right, so sorry about this being overexposed, but it's hard to see this gray in the background. I have used bricks on their side construction here, very similarly to what I used on the 787. Those of you who remember that project will sort of recognize this technique. I'm pretty sure this works. From all the math I've done, this angle should work fine. So that's what's going on there. I just wanted to mention that. So this is not it though, because under all of this is the landing gear. So let me flip this model over and show you how that works. Alright, so I have flipped the model over now and you can see the underside. Now of course the underside still has a long ways to go before it is complete. However, there has been an enormous amount of updates made since the last time you saw this. So first things first, and in my opinion the most significant change here has been the landing gear. Now obviously the landing gear is not done. There's just one right here. There are going to be two of them. However, I'm pretty much satisfied with the prototyping for this landing gear. So let me show you how it works. Now, the gear tilt right now is just sort of how it ended up being. These will end up being more level like this when they are done. And some stuff around here, the tiling still needs to be completed, and obviously there is no strut left. So just be aware that this is still in the prototyping phase. This would not be able to hold up the airplane in reality, but this is what my general design is going to look like. And you can see that when it retracts in, if I can fit this thing in here, that's kind of what it looks like. Like I said, it's not done here yet. Still a lot of work that needs to be done, but that's what it's going to look like. And I get a lot of questions asking me, how do I hold up these extremely heavy airplanes with what seemingly looks like pretty spindly landing gear, especially on aircraft as large as the A380 and 747. And hopefully this one won't have any problems. And I use a few basic principles basically for all of my aircraft, which tend to work out pretty well. So the first thing I've learned, and this is something that I've learned the hard way over the years when it comes to building these things, is that you never attach the landing gear to the wing, especially if the wing is at an angle. So just real quick, I'm going to swing around over here. The Southwest aircraft, the Southwest 737, this area right here is parallel. So it's just perfectly straight, and there's no dihedral in this area. Now, out here there's a dihedral, but there is no dihedral right here. So you can attach the landing gear to this area no problem because it's at a 90-degree angle. However, if I come back over to the 777, you'll notice that the entire wing is at a dihedral. Now, the 777 is not nearly as complex as for, say, the A380 or 747, where the wing was at a dihedral and it was angled back, in which case you're really screwed if you want to mount landing gear to that. So in this case, the best thing I found to do is to mount your landing gear somewhere that is at a 90-degree perpendicular to the fuselage, and which is sturdy. So you can see what I've done here is I've basically just created a beam. This is pretty sturdy. You can see this is not going to collapse under the weight. It's reinforced. It connects straight here to the central spar that runs down the fuselage. And the reason I do this is because at the landing gear, it's kind of hard to see, this is a 90-degree angle, and right here you can see this hole right here. That's where the wing or the landing gear strut will connect. This will come down from here and probably mount about right here. So this creates a 90-degree triangle, which is extremely sturdy and can take a lot of weight. And as long as you keep things as that triangle, as 90 degrees right here, and as long as the weight transfer does not ruin your tires, this thing can actually support a surprising amount of weight and will not collapse on you. I've yet to, knock on wood, I've yet to have one of these heavies collapse on me because the landing gear all followed that same principle. And I've learned because my old 747, those of you who've been following the channel for a very long time will know that the old 747, the landing gear is attached straight to the wing itself. And one reason you don't do that is because it puts too much strain on the wing. And the other reason you don't do that is because it's not a stable connection. It won't, if the plane just moves or rocks just a little bit, the thing will collapse. So that's what I've come up with for the landing gear, and it seems to be going pretty well. I am just waiting for part orders so I can finish that off. Out here real quick, you can see that these are the very beginnings of the pylons for the large engines that the 777 has. Obviously, this will be built out further. Not done yet. You can see that I have my cable connections here. These will be for lights. Obviously, all the cables are still exposed. This one right here is going to be for the strobe light on the roof. I'm going to have to route this under the fuselage, and this right here is the red strobe light for under the fuselage. And of course, these are the landing lights right here. You can see they're already wired into the wings. So that's going to be pretty much it for this one. I've made a lot of progress to this thing since the last update. It went from basically just being a wing spar to almost a completed inner wing. So I'm hoping in the next video I will have the engines complete, the flaps installed, and maybe a little more smoothing. I doubt I'm going to have the outer wings done in the next update. That will probably be the update after that. But I'm trying to move pretty quickly here, so I would not be surprised if I do have those done pretty soon. That's all I really have for this video. If you have any questions on this or how I build planes in general, leave them in the comment section below and I will try to answer them. That's all I really have for this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and bye for now.